Hi, folks. Now we'll be talking about three uh, elements here. One is the investment start time, milking start time, and end time. The most important part of it would be the investment start time because different strategies will dictate that. Milking start time is not complicated at all. You can just configure the algorithm and let the algorithm know that okay, you want to start milking as soon as the opportunity comes from 9:30 onwards EST as an example. If you're in Hong Kong Stock Exchange, you can put in the starting milking start time for the time that exchange starts working. The same goes for Australia or London Stock Exchange. Just put the time when the exchange is supposed to open up. But here the investment start time is a little bit more complicated because it has got to do with the strategy. I will try and explain certain things here. Say, for example, you're doing a long-term trading, and in a long-term trading, the key important element is, of course, you want to get into the market where the spreads are not there. Uh, People who are aware of stock market, they would know what is a spread between the asking price and the bid price. So usually it takes around 2 minutes or 1 minute. Maybe I have seen like sometimes even 5 minutes for the spread to. If not, you might be landing up paying a little bit more to the broker. Uh, it could so happen that you are going long and the market price is at $10, but because of the spread, you might be buying that stock at probably $10.20. So that's your buying price or a cost price. Eventually, maybe you are selling it off at $10.40. So technically, you have made only 20 cents because the first $10.20 which you went in with the spread, you had lost out 20 cents out of it. If you would have waited and the broker would have adjusted the price maybe after another 10 minutes, you would have probably bought it at $10, say 12 cents or something of that sort, if assuming that the stock was going north. So the same holds here. So investment start time for a long-term position, which I do as per my algorithms which I'm running, I think I put it at 10 o'clock. So again, it all depends on what you want to do because of course I'm going long in this case. I don't care whether what is the spread. I want to just make sure that I am staying away from that spread. And when things get normal, the prices are absolutely normal with the bid and ask all very close to the market price, then it's a good time to get into the stock as an investment. The same I think would also be for swing because you are not going to uh, deal with the fluctuation of the spread within that 5-10 minutes time. You can deal with it because you're swinging, probably you're doing a swing term strategy for probably. Of course, in swing term strategies, as I have said, that you can configure the algorithm in such a way that you want to go long for the entire month and you want to go short for that day only. So the algorithm would give you that flexibility to plot your mathematical models accordingly, where you're saying that, okay, I want to go swing for the entire month. You can give a date as to when you want to exit out from long-term positions. But if you're taking a short-term position, if you're doing shorting and you don't want to keep that short overnight because you might have to pay interest and all those type of stuff, your strategy could be to exit out during the day. Before the market closes. But again, in this case, I would still say that in the swing term strategy, you don't want to go at around 9:30. Now, when it comes to intraday, this becomes little crucial because you're trading for the day by the minute, right? So you can try two things. I have done intraday where my entry point or the investment start time was around 9:45. But sometimes you will notice, as a best practice, you will notice that majority of the movement in a stock market happens between 9:31 to 9 or maximum 10 o'clock. Whatever has to happen then, it happens. If the market is having getting into a huge sell-off, then you'll see a huge fluctuation around that 10 to 15 minutes. Or if it is a huge buy, you'll see you'll see that the market is responding with a green signal and probably going to 0.6% or 0.7% within the first 10 minutes. Because usually investors, they make that decision that, okay, I want to go for these positions long, uh, and they go based on the market condition. So you can set up accordingly. If you want to tell the algorithm, and we'll come to that detail later, but I'm just giving a touch base here. You can tell the algorithm that, okay, you know what, I want to get into a long position if the market is green. And you can also make sure that you tell the algorithm that, okay, you start investing from 9:32 as an example. So what it will do is it will look at 9:32, the market conditions, and start triggering, and as well as from your list it will qualify the individual stocks also, which we'll come to that later, and then start looking into investments from 9:32. From 9:30 to 9:32, it will not do anything even if stocks or market is in your favor, because you're telling the algorithm that you want to start only investing at say 9:32. You can put it at 9:35, 10 o'clock, whatever it is. People who are into hedge funds and all, they might want to look into investment start time at 3:45 p.m. or maybe 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Why? Because they want to make sure that, okay, you know what, the market usually takes a direction around that time. It takes a direction early in the morning hours and also around towards the late evening, before the market closes around 30 to 40 minutes earlier. It also takes some direction there. So a lot of hedge fund companies make use of that, keep the money overnight, keep it in the market, of course, and the next morning they start exactly at 9:30. So what happens is they're holding the money overnight. They're entering into investment start time. If you go based on hedge fund companies, they may be entering at around say 3:40 as an example, and they may be getting out the next day morning at 9:30. This is more in the direction of pop trading. But again, as you decide what type of strategy you would like to use, you can configure the algorithm accordingly. If there is something which is giving you confusing you, you can ask me and I will help you to see if we can plot it correctly in the configuration. But on a nutshell, depending on your strategy, you would be telling the algorithm what would be your best time to start investing. But if you're say going long and you are starting telling the algorithm that I want to start investing from 9:45 after the spread settles, but I want to start milking from 9:30. So that means what? If the next day morning when the market opens and your stock takes a spike, it will start milking right away because your milking start time is set to at 9:30 a.m. So again, depends again on the strategy. If you're doing swing, is what I just said also. If you're doing intraday, you might be starting at even at 9:30 or 9:45 to see where your returns are more better. So with time, as you keep changing these timings, you will notice that the returns are also slightly different. Better direction would obviously be based out of your fact findings, which depends again on your strategy. So there are a lot of components which we are trying to stitch, as you can see from all the videos which we are doing so far. Now comes the end time. End time is not so important because what the algorithm does is it throws a report. So usually the end time is set at 4:01, although the market closes at 1, I mean at 4 o'clock, the end time is specified at 4:01. What it means is basically it'll throw a end of the day report on cloud, and you can take a look into that report. Of course, you will get to see all the changes or trades which happened within Interactive Broker, but it will keep a document for you. If you want, you can request for that and it will maintain it in the cloud. So you can just see if you're, as I said, like once you configure your systems, everything is stable. You don't need to be in front of the computer at all. It's truly passive in nature when it comes to the the algo trading, I mean the quantitative trading. But you might be interested to see, okay, what happened at the end of the day. You might have that cloud document coming to your phone, and you can take a look where you will get to see that, okay, of course you'll get to see all the data which the broker will provide you with your net worth and all sorts of stuff, unrealized profits and all those stuff. In addition, you will also, and buying power, leverage, how much you used and all those stuff. In addition, you'll see how many trades you have done, what was the more or less the market S&P at that time, or whatever index you're trying to point to, and you can do a best judgment. If you're doing intraday trading, you don't need to care about it because you know that you'll be squaring off or liquidating all the stocks. But if long-term trading, it might be a interesting data for you to look at to see how many you did long and how many shorts and how many are still on the float. Because for intraday, sorry, for swing trade and long-term traders, they might have positions in the market overnight. Maybe you can have a strategy where you are liquidating or closing your short positions by the end of the day, but you could have a strategy where you are using where you're holding the stock overnight. And if that's the case, then that type of count would be very important for you to see as to how much of EOD stocks you're holding at the end of the day. Second important thing is if you're using leverage, you can keep a control or check in terms of the leverage and make sure that, okay, it is within that acceptable range of leverage which you are asking. Say for example, in intra and with Interactive Broker, if you're using 1, if your leverage is 1 or below, means you are still using your own cash. But when the leverage goes over 1 and say it is up to 0.25, that means you are using 1/4 of their leverage. So in order to keep a check on that, you just want to make sure that, okay, it is also reflecting in the EOD report. Of course, you will get it also on their brokers portal and all those stuff, but this becomes very handy. But anyway, so that's the end time story of it. But the most important thing is your investment start time. This is one of the tips and tricks which I would like to let all my viewers know, that depending on your strategy, if you're going intraday, you can try two things. You can try entering at around 9:40 or 9:45, or you can try entering into an investment from 9:30 onwards. You can try both because timing is very important when it comes to uh, a strategy, and then see how the returns are. I mean, because the trade-off is if you are going at 9:30, you might be dealing with the spread. But if your strategy is, in my case, like I don't want to deal with spread, so I keep myself little away from 9:30. 9:45 is usually which I would prefer. But again, it depends completely on you and how you want to configure and make sure that, okay, you are getting some decent return based on that. But having something at 9:30 is something where you will be dealing with the spread. So having said that, I think these are very simple parameters which you need to probably plot it into the software so that the algorithm understands at what time you are going to start your investment. Of course, milking start time is always 9:30, so keep it to 9:30. I don't think you need to make any changes on that. So, having said that, if you still have any further questions, feel free to ask me. Thank you.